Me, Dale Murray, I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
You might want to buckle up, baby.
And now get ready for WTF.
You want to prove once for all that I'm better than you? Strap up.
Bring it on, Big Brother Tin Man.
Whose take is first? Brought to you by TireOutlet.com. Wholesale prices, premium service.
All right, crank it up. Here we go.
I think I might stand today.
I like it.
Woo! The Googans will enjoy that decapitated Jeff on the live video.
Oh, am I decapitated right now?
That's right.
I'm not just another pretty face.
No, but you do have a very pretty body, Jeff.
Thank you.
According
buddy.
to the video.
Thank you. It's a man bod.
Lean.
It's a dad bod. That's
Lean
for
and
damn
mean.
sure. And I'm very quickly evolving from dad bod to, like, great uncle bod.
Very nice.
Then grandpa bod will come, and then we'll be done. Grandpas are like football players. As soon as you get there, you either get really big or really small.
Okay.
Anyway.
What's the question?
The
You have a
question for WTF, we always encourage the Googans to
I'm riding high
jump
right now.
in.
Do you have a question?
On the text line driven by Duval Ford 641-1010, share your thoughts. CBS Sports guys did a ranking of the paths to the Super Bowl. It's not a straight up, streak the schedule ranking. They take into consideration other factors. That being said, according to the gang at CBS, the toughest path to the Super Bowl belongs to the New York Giants. They sure have a tough one week one, right? Meanwhile, as for the Big Cats, and this is the question if you agree with this, according to CBS Sports, the Jaguars are tied with the Packers for 27th. That's the fifth easiest path to the Super Bowl. Here's what they say. The Jags have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL this year, which kind of makes sense, especially when you think about it from Jalen Ramsey's point of view. Ramsey thinks that nearly every quarterback in the NFL sucks, and I'm guessing he probably feels the same way about nearly every team in the league except for the Jags.
Well, a couple of notes. And this is a good one to kick around here for a minute or two because I know Dan and I differ on the impressions of the schedule as far as the difficulty. But the easiest path, by the way, even though the Jags have an easy one comparably, but are the Houston Texans. So when you keep reading these worst to first columns and handicapping which worst team has the best chance to be first, that's one reason Houston is going to show up on that list because theirs is ranked the easiest. But I'll tell you what's impressive about the Jaguars still being viewed as having an easy road, Dan. Part of what they do in this, they put a lot of weight on the first three games because there's that three-game stat that historically holds up. If you start 3-0, you go to the postseason.
Right.
If you start 0-3, you don't go to the postseason.
Right.
And if you start 1-2, you hardly ever go. Well, so they did a big part of their analysis was on the toughness of a team's first three games. Well, the fact that they have the Jaguars with this, quote, easy schedule, that's a tough opening three. We talked about that yesterday. So I think
Right.
it really speaks to where, people feel like the Jaguars are from their own strength. Forget the schedule.
Well, you're going to forget the schedule, but if we're just talking about the schedule, I will continue to battle this on all fronts. And I just go to one thing and one thing only, and that's something called optics, what appears to me, what I see in front of me when I look at the two schedules, and I compare last year's to this year's, and I compare who the Jags are playing, and I compare those kinds of things. And I can just start with the AFC South, which will be better. I mean, we all know that. Deshaun Watson is going to play a whole year with 6-7 games under his belt. Tennessee went to the playoffs one season ago, and Andrew Luck is back for the Colts. All that alone means no layups. There were layups last year. There's nothing like a 34-10 win in the NFL. That's like,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
What do you and
That alone, though, starts me going.
but no,
that just gets me
I don't
started.
know. It's just best
Get
guess.
me started.
Best guess if you don't have a definite number in mind. But what do you
Yeah.
think the Jaguars will go in the AFC South this year? What will their division against? What will their record against? Don't you think 4-2 is pretty conservative?
4-2 as the favorites of the conference. Yeah, I would be.
Well, they were 4-2 in the division last year.
Okay. Well, that's not how
So
we're looking at it, though. I'm
well,
looking at
we're
it like easy wins.
Well, we're talking about the schedule strength, and they were 4-2 against the division last year. I think they'll be that or better against the division this year. Even though Houston's better, they better be a whole hell of a lot better. The Jags outscored them about 70-14 last year.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And the Colts
but
are
they
awful.
They never played Deshaun Watson. I know he appeared in the opener, but
No,
they
I
never,
know. And Deshaun, listen, we made an awful lot about Deshaun. Deshaun Watson didn't have him 7-0, lighting everybody up. He threw about 10 interceptions in 3 weeks, too. So that defense will be tough on Deshaun Watson in his second year in the league with a little bit. Listen, at the end of the day, the Jaguars are in their best condition to handle any schedule strength. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
I mean, for the first time ever, there's not games on the schedule where there ain't no way they're winning that game.
No.
There's none of those.
No.
And that's just it's
But
real
that
quick
speaks,
to lose
that
sight.
speaks to the strength of the Jaguars football
Sure.
team, not to the schedule.
But that affects the schedule.
They're playing divisional champions from last year. They didn't play those guys, and the guys that they played last year did not go and win the division either.
Well,
So,
the Rams did.
the Rams were the only one, but the
Steelers
the Jets didn't. The
The
Bengals didn't.
The Steelers did.
That was they were playing the entire. Somebody's going to win it if you play the entire AFC North.
Well, but
They played the entire AFC North, just like this year they play the AFC East.
Sure.
So somebody's
And
going
the
to win the
AFC
division.
East, by the way, the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets are no good. That's easier than last year preseason placing the Ravens, the Steelers.
Preseason, but it turned out not to be
yeah,
that way.
but you can't
Sure
look
you
what
can.
what it's going to turn out to be. You have to look at what you're dealing with as you sit here and face your schedule.
And that's what I'm doing. And
I don't think that. I think the AFC East will be just as bad as the North turned out last year.
maybe we don't know. I mean, we saw a guy yesterday pick the
did
Jets to go to the playoffs.
Well, the Jags, I'll just say this when it comes to schedule. This is why it's a silly argument.
Mm-hmm.
The bad teams on the Jaguars' schedule last year at this point of the year, they lost to the
Right.
Rams, the Jets, the Niners,
Right.
the Cardinals.
They won the two that they said we couldn't win.
Yeah. Well, more than two. The Ravens. Listen, the
There were
Jags.
two out there. The Steelers and the Seahawks were the two games that people said, all right, they're not going to win those two. We all said that.
Yeah.
We said
well,
that.
they also, the Chargers were tough in the beginning of the year. The Chargers have been hard to pick. The Bengals had the Jaguars number big time until they beat them last year,
Yeah.
and so had the Ravens. Really, I mean, all of those teams were better than the Jaguars at this point of last year.
Again, that
perceptually.
speaks to the strength of the Jaguars. That
Yeah.
doesn't speak to the strength of the schedule. That schedule last year
Well,
was
this is the
a
difference.
Gift, a gift from above,
This-
like Bill Walton said, manna falling from the sky.
I don't agree quite as much, but in the division, sure. But outside of the division, no. They just got better. Other teams got worse. But that's why this is different, Dan. This is there is just a flat out what is your opponent's win percentage, and we can compare this year to last year and this year's winning percentage while still like top three as far as ease of schedule is percentage points harder than it was last year. But this road to the Super Bowl, it's also taking into effect how good the team is and where the games are. And so those factors together give you a good road for Jacksonville.
Real quick, guys, one other quick
yes, sir.
hitter before we get out of here.
Uh-huh.
Later on today, the Ohio State Board of Trustees will meet and allegedly discuss Urban Meyer's fate or lack thereof. Do you think there will be anything of note to come out of that
yes.
later on today?
There's going to be something, and there's going to be a form of punishment, and but it'll be interesting to see if they actually play. I think the one thing that would be a little bit insulting is the whole time served thing. Personally,
A two-game suspension, I bet you. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
Like if Vegas were offering odds on different potential penalties, I'd say two-game suspension. Do they have a tough game early?
Oregon State.
No,
Their
TCU.
first two aren't tough.
Rutgers,
TCU's
and
their
then
third game.
TCU's the third game.
Yeah,
Right.
two-game suspension.
Yeah.
They'll treat Urban just like Urban treats his star players who mess up in the offseason. Give them 2 games for the layup teams.
You think I'll have to run some steps too?
He might have to run some steps. Might have to
Maybe
get
run
up at
some
6
steps.
a.m.
Yeah.
They can't say that he's been punished by being on administrative leave the past 2 weeks because he's been getting paid. That cannot count towards any sort of punishment.
That was the implications that I've been reading about, calling it
Well,
full time served. So
I mean, I see what you're saying, but it is more than money at this point. That money doesn't matter to Urban Meyer. He's got $1 zillion. They did take away his livelihood. He loves being out coaching, trying to get his team ready to contend for a national title. He's lost that opportunity for a couple of weeks. Like to you or me, the pocketbook would be the start and finishing point. I'm not sure it is with Urban.
well, the damage.
I'll tell you, if Urban had the choice
Yeah.
of getting paid this year and sitting out all year,
Yeah.
or coaching all year and not getting paid for 1 year, don't you think he would take coaching?
I don't know. I think
Yes.
I think the damage is done though to Urban Meyer. So I'll be curious to see what
I
what comes
of
of it.
It always feels like that when you're in them.
Yeah.
And then you look back in 3 years and you don't even remember what you were, worked up about. So, but he better keep his nose clean from all the parameters of his program now, or it'll be.
I think this one stays with him, though. I think that 15 years from now, when we're talking about Urban Meyer, you'll say, "Oh, he was a great coach, comma, but."
Well,
but didn't the Aaron Hernandez stuff kind of already attach itself? To Urban?
It started
Yeah.
it, but I think if there was none of this at Ohio State, I mean,
it's hard to say for sure. I think we've looked.
I
think we've looked past like Mike Leach, who you thought he would be forever defined for locking a kid in a shed, and you don't really. That's not the first thing that pops into your head with him. He's not as big a boy as Urban Meyer, you know. I don't know. You may be right.
Locked a kid in a shed.
That's what it was, wasn't it? They locked him in the shed.
I thought it was a closet.
No, it was a shed.
It was a shed.
They locked him in there, baby.
It was a she shed, actually.
Yeah, my she shed's on
Get
fire.
off the shed!
I need a new she shed.
Hey!
Well, the interesting part now, of course, is that right as the Urban stuff is kind of coming to an end, the Jimbo Fisher stuff is now escalating.
Yeah, we'll
Texas
talk about
A&M.
that later. That's something as well.
Urban's like, thanks, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Disgruntled players are always, skepticism at best.
As we learn, there may be a bag man.
The bag man.
Really, you think? Anyway, so we'll talk about that. We got tickets to give away to Jags games.
Why don't we do
left.
that? Why don't we do that when we return? Because we'll do that. We'll see what's trending. We got brunch with the tour.
I may
bottom
play
of
the
hour.
numbers game again.
I like it.
Yeah.
The redemption that I've so desperately wanted.
You finally get your chance.
Next, this is the load up those phone lines 641-1010, but only if you love the Jaguars and want to go to the game this weekend.
The Drill from the studios at Republic Services. We'll handle it from here.
We're a pack of scary, indestructible alpha dogs. Nobody's giving up around here, and don't you forget it, ever. You're Rex. You're King. You're Duke. You're Boss. I'm 1010XL.
Something truly amazing has happened at the markets at Town Center.